house. It looks
Oh,
amazing.
lovely.
We're asking about the ceiling, but is it what,
Yes.
19th century or older?
No, I mean it's pretty recent, and I think my mom is in real estate, so she takes a lot of time sort of with the decorations and stuff.
It's really nice indeed.
Is it also maybe a part of Arabic culture to have such beautiful, ornate
Yes,
details?
actually yes, and they take, because especially this part of the Middle East, sometimes we bring also a lot of artists from Morocco or all the west of Algeria who actually would do a lot of that handy work, especially the corners, the pillars, the ceilings. It takes a lot of time and it's super expensive.
It looks lovely. It looks really classic.
Yeah, it looks lovely. I'm staying in a student flat, and whoever was in here before me, I think they used to throw their shoes or something at the ceiling because they're just a whole lot of black marks.
I think
and
maybe they
footprints
walked
on
on
the
the ceiling, Karen.
Yeah.
maybe
Those are really good parties they have.
they must have had some good parties. There are no parties happening here now. No, none at all.
It looks really nice. I love the background with the
Thanks.
book. I always love these sort of bookshelves where you have a little bit of Japanese
Yeah.
kind of style in a sense, and it's got
I'm a maximalist. I like to have lots and lots and lots of little things around, and so because I'm only living here temporarily, most of my stuff is in Cape Town.
wow.
So I only brought a few essentials, but have since then been buying a lot of stuff from auctions. I have a Victorian porcelain bedpan
Oh, wow, that's fancy.
You have to show us that.
that I
Show us the
absolutely. I'll send a photo. But it's in my lounge and it's got the premium spot.
In the lounge, yeah.
It's not for anyone else other than myself. No, I don't let anyone into my flat because it's so tiny.
Oh.
And, well, I don't want anyone in here. Get out.
Get out. So you've expanded, you've extended the lounge. The lounge is an extension of the bedroom now. Bedpan is ready to hand whenever you need it.
Well, the lounge is actually a reading room. It's only got one chair in it because I needed more space for all my books. So I've put the couch on the balcony and brought a desk in, and I have 3 desks. I live in a 1-bedroom tiny apartment and
Oh
I
my
have 3
God.
desks.
What is that?
Yeah, it's in South Africa. It's in a tiny place called Potchefstroom. Do you know it, Andile?
Never
Have you been
but I
here?
do know it. Yeah.
There's nothing to see here, so
no.
don't come.
I'll come visit.
Well, the weather must be cool these days. I was thinking about it the other day. Last year when I came over in September, like the thing I was really excited for was some cool weather because it was just burning here, which is the case now. The whole Mediterranean is honestly just I don't know what it's like in the UK, Julia, but all over in Europe and here it's
Yeah, pretty oppressive. Yeah, and now today, yesterday suddenly it changed. We had lovely cool air, so everybody could breathe. I could breathe a bit. You just wanted to stay that temperature. Don't change. Blue sky and cool air. That's all we want. Yeah. Well, what's it like in South Africa?
Cold.
It's winter, right?
Cape Town. Well, you're not. Yeah. Is it?
It's cold.
I'd swap you any day, Andile.
Yeah, it's just hard to imagine. Yes, what it's when.
Hey, take it all. Just give me some cool weather.
Well, okay. Well, who's going to start then? What have you been reading?
I spoke too soon. We were not done with the weather just yet.
Also here it's humid, and so it adds heat and humidity. Doesn't. We did an urban trail this past weekend, and I've never in my life been so drenched. I'm sorry for the image, but by the time we're done, literally I was dripping all over.
Well, I was thinking when I saw you were doing it, and I thought, oh my God! I mean, how? You don't have enough water.
No, yeah, that was the big thing, is staying hydrated, and also it was beautiful. Honestly, it's a really beautiful experience to do that. The weather, good thing they did it in the evening. Like we started at 6:30, so by the time we finished, it was dark, but it was super hot and super humid.
Was it several
No, it was
days?
just it was 18 kilometers, but it's an urban trail, so you go up and down the city. And Algiers is a lot of hills, so but then you go
Wow.
through these sort of like historic sites and cultural sites and stuff, and you go inside buildings that they're never open accessible to the public. Like there's these underground vaults from like 1200 years ago that are never open, so you go and run through them and then get out the other way. It's beautiful. I'll send you videos of some of the things that they capture on. It's really
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So what used to be in the vaults? Were there books or
Well, actually,
people or like
it was
hidden?
a sort of like some kind of a building, because what happened is it was buried underground and then they forgot about it. Then when they were building the metro line, they discovered these, it's large vaults, like it's almost like an underground city that they discovered. So then they're working on it sort of to turn it into a tourist site, but for now it's closed to the public.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating.
Was it hot under the city when you went through those, or was it
So much cooler,
in-
and actually, so like, and it was almost wet. It was like so humid. So like, actually, we had to slow down because the floors were slippery. Think of these granite sort of like pillars and walls and stuff, and then the flooring was
Yeah.
slippery because of that, and so we had to slow down. You can't run there because then you just slip down. It was really good. Then they made us go through the port, and then so there's this part of town where everybody thought it was like almost surreal, because you run in on top of the hill, right, and then you go to the ground floor of an apartment building. It's from the 1930s, I think, and then everybody was really amazed because you don't go upstairs, you go downstairs, 10 floors. And then you get out on the ground floor from another side. So like, so basically the 10th floor on one side is the ground floor on the other side of the hill. And so people were just like disoriented by that.
Wow.
That sounds crazy. Your legs must have been so wobbly when you got to the bottom of 10
The worst
floors.
part was going up because,
Yes.
because those was thinking the entire
suppose.
time. Like whenever I'm going down, like, okay, I'm gonna have to climb back up at one level, right? So like there's other buildings or like streets where I remember the streets were like with 300 stairs you go up. And then the last bit is, you go up, there's this museum, you go like 6 or 7 floors. Then again, you get out to the other side of the hill, and then you climb up the hill for about, that's like the 500-meter hill. Everybody, it kills the best of athletes before they get to the finish line.
Wow.
Telling you, it's magical, honestly. I'm so glad I did it. I'll send you guys a video in the chat so you guys can take it.
Yeah. And that whole business of going up and down just reminded me of, they do something in Venice every year, and it's a race that people are running over all the bridges.
Oh, wow.
It's quite a marathon, yeah, and it's called in dialect. It's called so e zo. So it's going so up,
Yeah.
and zo
Up and down.
down.
Love it.
Yeah.
But they can't have that many people that they're allowed to run that, because surely those bridges, I mean, are they going to be able to take that many pounding feet all at one
Well,
time?
they managed to cope with all the tourists pounding over them and sitting on them for.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
They're
true.
pretty sturdy bridges.
I just-
I think they probably select the strongest ones. They probably don't exactly use every single bridge, but it's like all around, and obviously you can't walk far without crossing a bridge, so the bridges are very much a part of it.
I have to say I haven't been in Venice since I was 18, and my memory might be very weak in terms of just thinking about the bridges being ancient and crumbling. Maybe they've been restored.
Yeah, like the Academia, it's the only bridge made of wood, and they do have to restore the wood, like every so. And yeah,
Okay.
they've had to restore it, I think, a couple of times. It does well. It does well.
Marathons, underground cities, and still not a book in sight. Time for action.
I'm wondering if we shouldn't maybe just start with a question, and because
Yes, why not start with what are you going to ask?
I'm not going to ask anything.
Okay. Then I'm going to repeat my earlier question. question and see where is everybody at? What have you been reading?
Andile, do you want to tell us what you're reading?
Yes, Andile, you've been quiet.
Well, I am currently in my final year for my master's. So I am reading a lot of books related to what I am currently researching. And one of those books that I have been reading and trying very hard to understand is a book called Period Pain by a South African author named Opano Matloa. It's a work of fiction, and basically I am trying to understand if the book is actually allegorical of post-apartheid South Africa. So I'm trying to understand if that is what she's trying to do in the book. And then as a side, just to get my head out of schoolwork, I am reading And So I Roar by Abidare. Yeah, so that is interesting. It's also a book about like a girl and education. Very feminist. So that's what I'm reading. It's also fiction. And nonfiction, I am actually finished reading this book yesterday. It's called Narrating Our Healing by Professor Pumla Goboto Matigizela. And the book is written by her and Chris. I don't know if he's a professor, but it's Chris van der Merwe. And it's basically talking about, it looks at fiction, but from a psychological lens. And they analyze books like Disgrace and other works. So it's very interesting. Yeah. So that's me at the moment.
What are you reading for fun, for relaxation?
And So I Roar. But that one is not tied to anything. It's just out of interest. It has a very nice cover. Yeah.
I have to go look up this cover now.
That's very important.
Yeah, that's much more important.
Yeah,
actually,
and I was.
So, but that sounds like it shares a couple of themes with your book, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does in a way. Because I was in a panel with her in Franschhoek.
Ah.
Yeah, so I hadn't really gotten the book. I had read her first book, The Girl with the Louding Voice, and this is a newer one. So I'm reading that whenever I get a chance to. Yeah.
I just was thinking, Andile, so everything you're reading at the moment, or that you've mentioned, is very much from the African continent, which I think is not that common these days, that people are reading fiction and nonfiction from here. I mean, I know that some of it is for your studies, but I really commend you. That's really
Thank you.
good.
I try.
And so it's really interesting. I think I was looking up the titles as you were listing them, and this one on narrating our healing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that's relevant to your studies, or just because you're interested in that topic of trauma, or is it for?
Yeah, it's very relevant to my studies. Very relevant. Initially, I was going to focus on scripted therapy, written by, is it Suzette? But I've just found that there's actually works within Africa or South Africa that speak about the art of writing, narrating your story to find healing and meaning. So yeah, this one is very much related to my studies. Yeah.
After a brief detour, back to And So I Roar.
Is it like they're teenager, they're in the last form, or is it they're getting ready for university, or is it a bit earlier?
High school. It's still high school, and she basically is a village girl, and there's this lady who is taking her to school, but the village people come to fetch her from the city, and she has to go back for some reason. So it's really about her reclaiming herself. Yeah.
She's had this opportunity for education, and somehow it's being is it being eroded? It's been taken away in a sense.
It is. It is.
Because that was something you sort of felt with braids and migraines as well. That after all that effort, and she seems to be getting somewhere, then it's being taken away.
Yeah.
A similar theme again. Yeah, it's very interesting.
I definitely felt the similarities when I was reading it. Very interesting.
Yeah, you're getting the same. But I bet she hasn't got birds in hers like you have. Singing. Because that's one of the things that really struck me was the way the birds are woven into the text, and it's just that extra bit of imagery that's really hits off. It's beautifully done.
I didn't realize there were so many birds there.
It's not too many. It's just they're there, and you allow the reader to become aware of their song and their at specific moments, and it's just adds that, makes it gives it that uniqueness, and it's I really like that. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Special.
The only birds I can remember are the dead chickens.
Oh my god! Oh well, you would, wouldn't you? Because of an island. I mean, you've got a chicken in there, so yeah, you're gonna.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. But I don't remember any birds
Oh my!
in
Okay.
Braids and Migraines except the dead chickens.
Homework.
I can't believe it. I'm going to have to read it again.
Homework. Read it again.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way, Karen. When I realized that there's birds, like she recognizes birds when she goes to the farm, and then the dad says when she gets to the farm, she listens to the birds, and she recognizes that the birds in the township sound different to the birds in the farm.
We left the field workers and reached a small hill, crossed over to the other side and walked past a beautiful dam with boats floating in it. Everything that needed to be green was green. The flowers were beautiful, the grass was manicured, and the palm trees swayed with the gentle wind. Everything was clear, even the birds sang differently, as though they were created to sing. Birds in the township never sang like that. Birds in the township cried.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Special. I love that.
It sounds like a great book. I better read it again.
I don't think I've found all of the extracts that have birds in them, but I have posted a few on Instagram as well. So if you'd like to, feel free to have another look at the Instagram posts as well.
Yeah, I should. I'm so bad with social media. I have to tell you, it's
It's a bit of a thing.
it's really something. And then I saw somewhere today a headline that said everyone is leaving social media
Oh, yeah.
and going, and then I don't know where they said. I can't remember because I thought, this is excellent. Times are changing, but I just can't remember where they said
They'll probably go
everyone's
somewhere
going.
else.
Another
They'll
platform.
probably go in somewhere worse, like on AI. Like, they're probably just talking to ChatGPT alone.
Oh, probably. Okay, so there was me thinking moving on to better times, but in fact, the end of the world is upon us. Like Andile, I do a lot of reading for research, for my own research, but also because I'm a lecturer now, and so I have to research what I'm going to be lecturing and trying to set assignments and do things for my students that at least interest me a little bit, since I'm the one that has to mark them. So I'm reading too many books at the moment. I can't even, I really don't know exactly where to start, but I am partly for research and partly because it's been recommended to me by so many people is the new Antjie Krog book. So Antjie Krog is a doyen of South African writing. She writes in Afrikaans, but I'm reading her new novel in English. It's sort of a memoir, but fictionalized, and about her relationship with her mother. And what's very interesting about it for me at this time is I'm half Afrikaans, and growing up I was in high school from 1996. So in South Africa, apartheid ended in 1994, and we're all happy, happy, happy. Except really what happened is that Afrikaans became it was the sign of apartheid. And so I was made at school, I went to an English school, but we did do Afrikaans as a language option. And I was made to feel ashamed of having any kind of Afrikaans heritage at all. And it's something that I think I've carried with me all this time, that there's been shame around it, which, of course, the Afrikaans nationalist government is largely to blame for apartheid, but it wasn't only Afrikaans people, and in the entire world, it isn't only Afrikaans people who are racists, and obviously many or most Afrikaans people aren't racist. And then I came to this town where I'm teaching now in Potchefstroom, which is in an Afrikaans part of the country, and it's very Afrikaans, and I'm suddenly having to speak Afrikaans, and my vocabulary is waking up again and coming back to me. And you meet really interesting and amazing people, and it's not only white people who speak Afrikaans or love Afrikaans. There are people of all religions, races, whatever you want to call it, who love the language and the words and the power of the words. So it's very interesting for me to be here and to be coming to terms with a part of myself that I think I've always tried to suppress. So that is something that I'm also, it's interesting in this novel or this memoir where Ankie Krog is dealing with her mother, who was, pro-apartheid. She wasn't a vicious, terrible, horrible woman, but she had her ideas of the hierarchy of white people should be in power and everyone else is beneath them. So how does Ankie, as the daughter, even as an adult, very adult woman, deal with a mother like that, and what does that make her, and what does that mean for I don't know, for any of it. I am still thinking through all of this, but it's very complicated and very painful and quite fucked up in many ways, but interesting and important to be aware of it and considering it all. And so in this town, there is a little museum of a guy called Tuashis, who was one of the very first Afrikaans poets in the early part of the 20th century. And so I thought it might be quite fun to take my students there so that they can go look at a house where a writer lived. But then I wanted to say, there are all these associations because he was he was very pro the Afrikaans language, and part of that was about separate development, and that included being separate from the English. So it was apartheid on all levels, apartheid of different languages, keeping everyone apart. But what I then found out, which makes all of this far more interesting, is that his sister lived with him and his children and his wife. And in 1921, the year when he gave a speech to the government and to the church saying, do not give women the vote, it's against the teachings of the Bible, don't give it to them, she published a book which was the first feminist book in the language of Afrikaans, and it was saying why women should get the vote and why Afrikaans women should be fighting to get the vote and not just sitting back and accepting it. But the the book was never really very popular because it was suppressed. They didn't want women reading it and fighting for the vote. And what's amazing about the book is that she has so many references from, she was reading Dutch, German, French, English, and had all this data available, and was, clearly intelligent and well read. And she gave also biblical reasons, saying, okay, this is what you quote from the Bible to say we shouldn't have the vote, but here, what about this quote from the Bible? So she was an incredibly intelligent woman who, she didn't live that long after that. She died of what they called in those days consumption, TB.
But she understood the art of debate.
Yes, and I'm quite in love with her, and that's one thing I want to do, is go and find out more about her, because I think she must have been an extraordinary woman. I think there were so many people like this who have been extraordinary in quite small ways, but significant ways. But where do you find information about them? You can find out the date they were born, you can find out the date they died, but where is everything in between? That's the thing.
Is she at all celebrated in that museum, or is it very much about the guy, the brother?
It's very, very much about the guy. Very, very, very much. So that's another issue that when I have one day, when I have time, I'm going to do a protest.
Get voted onto the committee board and set up a project for research.
Oh, but that could be a really cool. That could be a really cool school project. I'm sorry, the teacher it always comes out. But I mean, like, if you take your students and then the assignment is to find hidden sort of clues or sort of additional information about the sister in the museum that may not.
Yeah. That's actually a really good idea. I think I might do that with the postgrad students next year. Give them that gives them a nice project to work on. Yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Can you give me the name of the book again? I want to find the cover.
It's in Afrikaans. It's Vrou, which is VROU, and then the word NEN, and then the word feminist, like in English, feminist. It's the one and only time that word was used in the Afrikaans language, because ever since then it's been written without the T on the end.
Oh, interesting. Right?
And it's by Marie de Toy, which is you would know it as a French pronunciation of du toit. Yeah.
Which is French for roof. That's
Is it? My goodness.
Sorry, what was the one you're reading in English? You're reading one in English?
Oh, that is called Blood's Inner Rhyme, and it's by Ankie Krof. It's the diminutive form, like it's like Annie for Anne. It's Ankie. Actually, someone recently was saying that she's probably someone who will be in consideration for the Nobel Prize at some point.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I should get this one later in the year.
you should take it after I'm done with the masters.
Books are expensive, man. I will just say, Andile, there's a lot of shit, as in literal shit, in the book. Like almost every page, someone is shitting.
Come on, don't tell me she's going to win the Nobel Prize.
My friend warned me about it, and I thought she was just being precious and exaggerating, and maybe there were like 2 shits in the whole book. But nope, there are. I'm only on page 72, and there've been many already.
You haven't actually counted them. It's not 72 exactly, but it's close.
You're
Close. 71.
The Nobel Prize is really going down the drain, isn't it?
Pun intended.
So Hamza, now that I've entertained everyone with my tales of shit, you can bring us back to something palatable and
Oh my
less
God.
tasteless. I mean,
A lot of pressure now.
no.
Now I have to come up with something.
Yeah.
So what I have been reading, actually proud to say also, I haven't been far from the continent. I've also been reading a lot of stuff from the continent. I'm currently reading a very interesting book that somebody recommended a few months back, and I finally got around to reading it. It's actually an Egyptian book written in Arabic in the 1970s. It's called Zini Barakat, which is the name of a guy. And it's a historical fiction, if anybody's surprised that I'm reading historical fiction. And it's set in Cairo in the 1500s. And it is it's a very fascinating book because I am really amazed by the way that the writer sort of tells the story. It tells the story of this guy who comes to power as a governor in Cairo at a time where there is a lot of corruption in the city, there is a lot of bribery, and people are not. And there's also like economic difficulties, and people are really struggling with the ruling party. I mean, it's not really a political party, like the ruling sort of like elite. And then there is this thing with, so like, they're facing the advancing army of the Ottomans at a time, because at one point I think they fell to the hands of the Ottomans. But then, so they're showing you how sort of like a lot of this corruption around town, around the soldiers, around the governing elite is sort of like one reason why the city eventually fell. And what I love about it is, it's a very unique way of telling the story because it's not one narrator, your typical characters. There's a lot of different approaches. There's different narrators. So one of them is a Venetian traveler, and a few other people are also like from the city. And then every chapter is a different way of telling that part of the story. So some of them are, they're like formal reports, or like court reportings, or some soldier reporting on a mission he went and sort of arrested this guy. Some of those are even public announcements. So they start with people of Cairo, and then it's an announcement. That's quite a few chapters are like that. And so it is very entertaining to go through. I think it really helps put you back in that time in the 1500s, because it's not your typical narrator who's telling you a story, but you're almost as if you're reading in a non-fiction. Anyway, so that's one book that I'm reading, and I love it. Like I said, it was written in the 1970s. I think there is an English translation, but I wanted to read it in Arabic.
Do you know what the title is in English, by any chance?
It is. Here's the cover, just so people can see it. You can see it. It's also a little artistic. So that's the title of the novel. And again, so that's the name of the sort of the main character, who is the governor who's coming to power. And so there's this whole thing around the way he gets to sort of restore almost a little bit of order is through, he's pretty ruthless and he's pretty ambiguous, because like you get to see, okay, is he corrupt? Is he trying to do the right thing? Is he trying to make his way to power in a different way? But there is these funny things where one chapter I really like is where he, to restore safety at night, he wanted to install these oil lamps, right, in the street. Just like today, right now, when you have a lot of crime, right, you'd have to increase street lighting. So he wanted to do that, and so he would put up these oil lamps all around the town, and then people revolted against that. And then you have so you have this chapter where it's basically a list of complaints, and somebody saying, oh no, that encourages the kids to stay out late, and that's not good. We want them to be in and sleeping. Somebody thinking, oh, this is the work of Satan. We were not allowed. Like God didn't mean for us to be walking the streets at night. We're supposed to be at home. Somebody saying, oh, this is an invasion of privacy, because then people are able to see into our house because there's so much light at night. Other people say the women are staying outside, and that's not good. They should be in by dawn. By sunset. And so it was a very entertaining chapter to read through, and it makes you think how what seems to be like very common occurrence now was met with so much resistance back in the 1500s. Yes.
Well, that makes me think of when they first brought in chimneys.
Yeah.
in the medieval times, and people were complaining about, oh, it gives me a headache.
Right.
It's making me, I can't sleep at night. I can't do this. I can't do that. Never mind, it's warming the house up. It's
Right. No, same thing with
brilliant.
ACs. Everybody complains that ACs gives me the flu. The AC gives me the flu.
Wanted to ask Hamza, so it must have been incredibly well researched to be able to create such a fully convincing novel.
Reading through it, that's exactly the impression that I have. Is it's really, really well researched. I don't know much about the writer. This is the first time I'm reading him, but it gives you the impression that somebody really did his homework. There is a whole sort of prologue, written unlike the introduction, written by somebody else who goes into the whole historicity of it, and I think is very, somebody was complimenting that, he's saying, this is an amazing way because he took a lot of time to do the research and then told it in such an entertaining way that he likes how sort of like he's conveying this part of the history in a very entertaining fiction way.
It looks amazing. I have sort of half a novel written. I mean, this is from years ago. That was set in, I can't even remember exactly, but I think it's like 1595 or something like that. And I don't know how if I ever go back to it, I don't know how I'm ever going to get back into it without having to first do all the research all over again, because it's been such a long time, and that's so important to get it all so right, and to know exactly why and what and where and how. So yeah, now you've actually put me off going back to that manuscript.
Sorry about that. No, I mean, I don't know about you, but usually I enjoy that part. The research to me is, it's always.
I love it.
It's a really good part of, I love reading historical fiction. I love writing it, and I think to me the research is a good part of it.
Part of the fun.
Yeah, I do love research, but I'm getting older now, Hamza. I'm 42. If this was the Middle Ages, I'd already be dead. And I'm starting to think, I don't know how much longer I have left.
Very long.
Blimey,
Very long.
it's the first time I've put the Middle Ages being used as an excuse.
No.
I love it.
No, but
You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed.
but like I said, it takes time. I think that's the whole thing. Also when I read some historical fiction, I'm like, how are you able to put out 2 books like that? But I mean, what I was also reading, people Ken Follett can afford to have a research company does all the research for them, and then they can just get what they want. So yeah. I hope you can get to that point where you can outsource the research part.
No, but I don't want anyone else doing the research for me. I think what I need to do is just find a very rich patron so that I don't have to have a day job.
Yeah,
and then I can just do research and writing all day long with a few
There you go.
naps in
That's
between.
better.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that sounds perfect. Yeah. That's what I want.
Oh, I love this title. Yeah?
So maybe we need to put out an advert for a rich patron to take on all of us. We come as a set,
Yes.
and then we'll be ready.
Really, we'll be producing a lot of historical fiction, that's for sure.
That's really interesting because you, Hamza, were interested in doing something of the 16th century, aren't you? There's something
Yeah.
you want to do at some.
Again, I'm always interested in history and historical fiction, and so a lot of the historical stuff that you find about Algeria is very limited to 1830 through 1962 because of the colonial period. And so there's a lot of stuff written about that. And so what's missing is going beyond that. And then so there's a whole part of the history where there's an era where they used to call them the Algerian, either pirates or the seafarers or whatever. We call them here the corsairs. And so it was a time where basically those seafarers in Algeria used to rule a big part of the Mediterranean. They would go all the way up to Ireland at one point. there's now renewed interest in that, but not quite. But there is also like a lot of, sometimes I would come up against some interesting fact, like there was a time I think where in 1 year they went through 7 rulers because these corsairs were so strong that they would have a big say in who's ruling the country or the city at a time. And so if they weren't happy with somebody, after 2 weeks sometimes or a month, they would just behead them and then change them very quickly. So there was like in a very short period they went through 7 rulers.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, that would make a really good historical fiction series. But yes, I would need a patron for me to be able to do all the research for that.
Yeah, I think that we've got a lot of potential for some very gallows humor as well. But
Or like those vaults we were talking about. Actually going through the most well, I wonder what the story is behind that. Something needs to explain into the story.
And you say 1595. That's the year my non-fiction work is based on, because I'm tracing the journey. Or I have not been tracing the journey for a while, but I intend to pick it up at some point once I get my wealthy patron. And it's tracing the journey of this musician-composer, John Dowland, from London across to Venice. But when he went through Germany, across the Alps, with a lute, which is a very delicate instrument in winter.
Yes, wow.
Yeah, so, I've got a few chapters written, but I would really... Yeah, wow. If we find a patron who's going to let me research and write it, I'm in.
Not Elon Musk. Sorry, Musk, if you're listening, we don't want
No,
you.
sorry. No. We do have our, we have certain limits.
We're not that desperate, no.
No, you trot off into space and we'll see you never.
But I mean, one other book that I'm reading is from South Africa, the famous Shabnam Khan's The Lost Love of Ak. I mean, I just finished it actually.
Oh wow! I just got that one.
This one.
I'll probably read it in December though.
You got big plans for December, Adine.
You've got it all worked out.
No, but I love it, and I got it when I was in Cape Town for the Open Book Festival. And
cool.
Yeah, and so I finally got around to reading it. So I just finished it, and I love it because it's it's this amazing story. I don't know. I mean, I think Shabnam Khan always says it's a book about a girl who sees ghosts or something like. And then I think it's a book about a girl and a haunted house and yes, it is that, but I think it's so much more than that because you have this girl who moves into this house in Durban with so much history, and so as you go through it, so she's discovering parts of the old house and like an old sort of like a spirit, like a jinn, sort of like is awoken, and she. There's these people who live in the house and they're almost trapped somehow, one way or another. They're always trapped in their own past. But then we also discover the story of the house, going back to I think 1930s, and who sort of like Akbar is the guy who sort of built it, and then so there is this whole thing. He's married to a woman, and then he wants a second wife, and there is this love story, and I think what I love about it is very humane, and so there's a lot of basic human emotion in it, and everybody. Is impacted with that story and the history, and so eventually the two sort of lines, 1930 and I think 2015, they cross paths towards the end, and in a beautiful way. It's a haunted house and it's a haunting story. I like to say it's really nice.
It has a different title in the UK, I think.
I think it's the Jinn waits 100 years, right, or something.
Yes.
And I love the opening line for this book. It's let me see if I can find it. It's right next to me. It says, "No one in Durban remembers a Christmas as hot as this," and I think it's such an amazing way to start a book because everybody, usually links Christmas with snow and cold, but then I think it startles you from the beginning. Like nobody remembers a Christmas as hot as this. Now, like the opening lines feel so much like these days in Algiers. So like no one in Durban remembers a Christmas as hot as this. The heat is a living, breathing thing that climbs through windows and creeps into kitchens. It follows people to work and at queues in the bank and on trains home. It crouches in bedrooms, growing restless, until at night in fury it throttles those sleeping, leaving them gasping for breath. It sweeps through the streets and bursts open pipes, smashes open green guavas, and splits apart driveways. It burns off fingerprints and scorches hair and makes people forget what they are doing and where they're going. So they wander around beating their heads. And I think a lot of the language is so much like this. I think Shabnam all stops and sort of like, I think, reflects on some of the, it could be heat, it could be a memory, it could be, it could be the light, and she's always reflecting on that, and I love that. I think it's very lyrical.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah, he is.
You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of the opening to, I think it's Bleak House by Dickens, when he talks about the fog. Because she's doing a similar thing to what he does with the fog, with the old prehistoric dinosaur coming out at the bottom of the street. But it's these comparisons.
I'm looking forward to reading it now. Sure.
December.
No,
but I also, not to give you more work for your studies, but I mean, I don't know if it's relevant, but when you said 9-hour healing, something also about healing that I read, trauma. It was an audiobook that I listened to recently, was The Body Remembers. I don't know if you know that title.
Oh, yes. Okay. I need to get that, actually.
I checked in with Hamza, and he actually meant The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk.
It's really, really good. I love it. It's a non-fiction, and the guy, I think, has decades of experience in research around the trauma. And then what I love about it is it's very human-centered again. So with every chapter, with every topic, he brings up some case studies, and then he's talking about these people, like these patients that he worked with. And then towards the end, he goes into some of the therapy approaches and some of the, I think at one point, of course, talked about journaling, but then there is this thing where I don't know what he calls it, but like they recreate some of the traumatic experiences and sort of like almost like gives them a second chance to deal with that in a different way. So if somebody was assaulted by, I don't know, a parent as a kid, so they'd have this, it's almost like theater performance, and then somebody would volunteer to be the father, and then so the victim would tell them where to stand, whether to face them or to face away from them, and then so they would get a second chance to sort of interact with that scenario as a way of dealing with therapy. But it's a beautiful book. It's heartbreaking. But
yeah. I need to read that. That's a must.
No, it's really beautiful.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Of course. And I need to get a copy of your book, by the way. So I think next time I'm in the UK, I'll definitely get, but I think I'm collecting a copy of the Island Prize.
Yeah.
I have here.
I'm doing the same.
Right?
Yeah.
So next time I have to get Simba's and yours.
Yeah.
Did you get to read Simba's article and short story? Simba's short story is on one online magazine, and there's an article on another. Like, we need a new story, and the short story is The Blue Fighter.
No.
Beautifully written.
Oh, wow.
You have a chance. Yeah.
I just did an interview with the Republic in Nigeria.
Oh, great.
Nice.
I think
Wow.
it should be already online, but then I think they haven't done the marketing for it. No, they're just the comms. I haven't posted it on their page, but it's already on their website. And so, of course, I took towards the end. They ask you who should they interview next. So I named everybody under the Iron Prize. Like, you guys need to interview everybody.
Yay.
They might come to you next, Andile, if they listen to me.
Nice.
Well done. Brilliant.
Sweet.
Lovely stuff. So get reading. We want more books now.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll get reading. We'll get on it. I have a week off coming up, so I'll definitely be doing some more reading.
Yeah.
It was so nice to chat and to see all of you, and sending big kisses and hugs and love
Same
to
here.
all of you. Bye.
Bye, Corinne.
Bye.